I want to go straight to Congressman Mike Waltz of the great state of Florida, who serves on the House Armed Services, Foreign Affairs, and Intelligence Committees. He's also a former Green Beret commander. We will lean on his acumen there in the military heavily. Good to see you. I want to start with those Americans who are being blocked by Hamas from leaving the war zone and getting to safety in Egypt. I have no reason to believe why Egypt wouldn't take our Americans. I haven't heard anybody say that. But they have to be able to get there. Hamas is blocking. And I ask the question, well, wouldn't that technically make them hostages, or could they become that? Are they in danger?
They are in danger, Harris, and I agree with you. They are essentially de facto hostages. Hamas is not letting them leave. They are not letting American citizens leave, on top of the ones that they took out of Israel. But I think we need to take a step back here. I mean, I think the administration's policy is completely inverted and backwards. We need to be sending a very clear message to Hamas's backers, whether that's Turkey or Qatar or others that are backing them, that if the hair on an American's head is touched, they will all feel the ramifications, not just Hamas leadership themselves. And my question is, if we supposedly share in Israel's objectives that Hamas is going to be destroyed, then why are Hamas's leaders freely moving and living in these countries around the world from an international standpoint? Why aren't we treating them like we did the leaders of al-Qaeda, like we did the leaders of ISIS, and putting them all under massive amounts of pressure? If they're worried about where they're going to sleep at night, and these countries are worried about their relationship with the United States going forward, that changes the dynamic for American citizens that are being held hostage. Instead, it's what can we give, what can we concede,
right.
And it's just a more of an appeasement approach.
Look, what you just framed there is what I've been wondering since the day after the attack, October 7th, on Israel and their citizens. I've been wondering, why are these countries allowing even a former commander, a former leader of Hamas to live there? Qatar, the leader who called for all of the protesting and, quote unquote, do something on your own, which if you're a lone wolf, that sounds like a command and control issue. He told the world on that Friday 3 weeks ago, get out, go, carry the message, do what you can. I mean, he clearly has a voice, and he's parked right there at the diaspora offices for Hamas in Qatar.
Yeah, Harris, after 9/11, we told a number of countries, we told the world, you're either with us or against us. We made it very clear, and we turned that dynamic on its head. Instead, we have others saying, you need us more than we need you, and you need us to get these hostages out. And that is basically giving Hamas all the leverage.
Yeah, and time, because those conversations have been very slow.
That's right.
All right. Overnight.
And then,
wait, excuse me, 1 second. Let's get to this, and then we can go back. Overnight, a U.S. military base in Iraq was attacked by drone. I want to get to this because you mentioned what it was like for our people to do there. Can you look at all the places where we are in the Middle East right now? First of all, we've got this map up, Congressman. I don't know if you can see it. The 28th attack on our U.S. men and women in the military by Iran-backed proxies, terrorists is what they are for hire, in the Middle East since just October 17th. That number goes up. It creeps up every single day. No injuries or damage in the latest facility that was hit, reported on a U.S. base. The Pentagon is now sending 300 additional active duty military personnel to the region on top of the 900 announced last week, bringing the total number of people deployed there to 1,200, obviously. First of all, what are all those missions? I've had 2 colonels, a general, and an ambassador tell me that they need to pull those people out. What's your take on it? Why do we have so many people that can be hit at this point?
Well, the majority of those forces, these aren't massive bases. They're very small bases with special operators, intelligence professionals, and they've been keeping a lid on ISIS. We've still been hitting much of ISIS's leadership in Syria. So those drones, those helicopters, the special operators that are kicking in doors, they can't parachute in from, the space shuttle. They've got to be there in theater. The problem is, Iran has been hitting them because they can get away with it. We've let them get away with it. This administration has allowed over 100 attacks in the last 2 years, and Iran will trade the lives of its proxies in Iraq or Syria or Lebanon for American and Israeli lives all day long. That's a good deal for the Ayatollah. Only when they feel the pain will they stop. And that's what this administration has a policy problem. They have this massive funding bill, this supplemental bill before Congress. My issue with it is it's throwing a lot more money after bad policy, whether it's bad policy on the border or bad policy with Iran. We in Congress have to drive policy changes, not just keep signing more checks.
Let's keep it there. The White House actually is going after some of you over this new bill to aid Israel. It would give the Jewish state more than $14 billion, which it would get from taking that same amount from all of the money that was added for those 87,000 people at the IRS who are going to knock on our doors personally, I guess, because there are going to be so many of them. Fox has obtained a White House memo titled "House Republicans Set an Unprecedented Bar for Helping Israel Defend Itself." It reads in part this way, Congressman. This is a time for all of us to come together and not undermine our national security with political stunts that prioritize internal point scoring over our safety in the world. It almost sounds like they're writing it to themselves. What's your response?
Well, again, it's bad policy, not money. We have to pay for We have to pay for this aid, and I certainly support pulling it from the waste that we've seen in the last several years. But again, whether it is Biden backing us into a stalemate, a war of attrition, because he didn't give Ukraine what they needed up front, he's dithered us into this stalemate, whether it is a wide open border, he's asking for more money to process more people rather than putting Title 42, remain in Mexico, and policies in place that would deter these migrants from coming. And then finally, Iran is flush with cash, yet they just want a blank check to basically fight against both sides of the same issue. How about we cut off the cash, enforce the sanctions, stop the waivers, and stop paying $1 billion per head per hostage? Well, that's how you cut off the money to terrorism, not just let them have more money and demand more money from the American taxpayer. It is horrible policy, and they have to do a 180 on their Middle East policy.
Look, it was bad enough when we thought it was north of 230 hostages. I'm going to take the conversation right back to where we began. Those 1,000 Americans now that Hamas is not letting leave the country. If you couple all of that with no more money to that region, because the aid for Gaza Strip now is also something that Democrats want, at least some of them want to fight about at this point. I mean, we have to get our people back before we keep paying them money. Your last thought.
No, that's absolutely right. We need to start imposing consequences on the people behind this. But let's even take a step back further, Harris. We also have a terrorist superstate in Afghanistan. There are reports of the Taliban giving passports to al-Qaeda and other groups. So Osama bin Laden has realized his dream of a massive caliphate to fund terror all over the world. And it's in Iran, and now it is self-imposed. We shot ourselves in the foot in Kabul as well, and it's all been under this administration.
A terrorist superstate in Afghanistan. Wow. Congressman, thank you very much.